Once James was prepared, he was sent to the Aresdale Railway to help shunt ballast trucks for Donald and Douglas's trains. Oliver and Duck were there to give him a warm welcome, but James didn't feel like needing a warm welcome. He had messed up for the last time, and if he couldn't make himself prove himself by the end of this, he would never forgive himself. Duck and Oliver were able to show him the ropes of shunting ballast trucks, but still James didn't feel motivated to forgive himself. One day, while shunting a ballast train under Frank to be loaded for Donald, he was talking to the miniature engines, specifically Rex and Frank. "You can't have this take a toll on you forever. You're going to make it up to you. Don't worry." James let out a sigh and agreed regrettingly, knowing that he probably wouldn't to himself. "Listen, you could be in a worse spot. You can be like Mike, who doesn't like passengers." "I heard that, and I have every reason not to. I'm more scared of passenger trains now than ever. I felt so weak going down the main line. I had to push myself, and then I couldn't hold myself back, so..." "And no one's blaming you," cut in Rex. "No one is saying that you did it on purpose. You just need to learn from your mistakes." "That's right. One time, I splashed mud onto two people who were just trying to grab photos of me. I didn't let it hold it down." "That's different," snapped James. "I hurt so many people that day and endangered so many more. Just because I needed to prove myself to something," but he was cut off. As Mike was chuffing down from the ballast hoop, there was more groaning than usual. "Does the ballast hopper usually make that much noise?" "No," said Rex, and then sharply it started to sink into the ground. The supports it was on were bending and twisting. It was sinking very close to Frank, but his driver wasn't near, so no one could save him. Rex would have jumped in to take him out, but he couldn't start up either. He was having steaming troubles all day, and Bert was at the behind of a passenger train that was still getting unloaded. Soon it started to come apart, and ballast truck by ballast truck, it soon started to fall down. Frank shut his eyes. Ballast trucks kept hurtling down towards him, and the next to last one started to tip over. James knew what he had to do. He had to maneuver his truck so it would tilt the other way. Frank shut his eyes and heard a crash, but it wasn't on him. James had maneuvered it so the ballast truck would fall on his tender. He'd saved Frank, but now couldn't move because he was derailed. The ballast hopper still shook violently like it was going to collapse at any moment in time. Mike saw this and tried to get through to Frank, but he was trapped with the ballast hoppers. Without thinking for a second time, Mike bashed through the ballast hoppers and coupled up to Frank and dragged him out of there. "Rex and Bert are still in there, though." "I know. I'm going there for them." Mike urged the passengers to get off, and even if they had hesitated, James let a shrill, off-corded whistle, telling them to move faster. Soon they did, and the coaches were empty, and Bert was dragged out. Rex was still there, but he wasn't in the line of danger. But suddenly, it began. It had fallen over. Rex watched in horror as it had, and once the dust settled, James opened a weary eye. Oh, is everyone all right?" he asked. "Fine. Startled, but okay." "I'm fine." "I'm fine too." "That's good." "Good," Soon Duck rolled in for his ballast train. What happened? But before James could answer, the Aresdale engines cut in. James saved us from mere destruction. He let Mike help me. And then he made sure that Mike didn't get hit by getting hit himself. He saved all of us in the blink of an eye. Hip, hip, hooray! And soon all the Aresdale engines gave 3 cheers for the red engine. The red engine could only blush. That still doesn't answer my question. I don't care whose fault it was. What happened? James explained how the ballast hopper suddenly started to crumble apart. It did groan a lot whenever it was getting unloaded. I guess that must have been hell. Oh, 6, said Donald, also rolling into the yard. What happened? Duck and James both explained the thing, but before they could, Oliver strolled up. He strolled up with none other than the Fat Controller. The Fat Controller walked over to James through the debris. Instead of looking angry, he looked proud. I heard the noise and I overheard your exclamation, and I can only say you have redeemed yourself of what you have done with the Express. Saving another engine is very impressive, especially with your track record with things you have said to engines who might be inferior. Hold on, what? I'm very proud of you, James. Once you are repaired, you'll head back to mainline duties. If you do beg my pardon, do you mind if I stay in the Aresdale branch afterwards? Pardon? I liked it here. There's not that much hustle and bustle of the main line. I don't feel like I have to... But James cut himself off. I feel more relaxed, he stuttered. So be it. You will work here more. I guess I will give Donald and Douglas more time on the main line with heavy goods. Aye, sir, and I haven't seen the mainline fleet in a while. So it will be arranged. James, once you are taken to the works by Duck, you will be put back on Aresdale duties. Thank you, sir. Once James was repaired, he worked with the reconstruction of the ballast hopper with the Aresdale engines. He felt more relaxed, but he still felt a little bit of guilt for what he had been thinking in his mind during the workshop had led him to some more serious thoughts. But I mustn't say more, for I shall spoil the next story.